This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital. It is Tuesday, 19th March 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. The government claims in 2013 the United National Congress was in support of introducing the property tax on industrial plant and machinery in Phase 1 by July 1st, 2014. Finance Minister Colin Imber said in Phase 2, the aim by the government then was to impose a tax on commercial properties. Phase 3 would have seen the implementation of tax on agricultural lands and residential properties. And despite being ill yesterday, the Prime Minister contributed to the debate on the Property Tax Amendment Bill 2024 in the House of Representatives. After Princestown MP Barry Padarath concluded his contribution, Dr. Rowley rose to speak. He told House Speaker Bridget Anisette George in a slightly hoarse voice, "I crave your indulgence and apologize for my physical condition, which may restrict me from taking part in this debate." The Prime Minister defended the implementation of the property tax, saying the PNM was not afraid to lose the general election on account it was doing the right thing for the country. Dr. Rowley said, quote, "We are not afraid of being voted out of office for having done the right thing, and I make no bones about that," end quote. The PM added, "We believe as we do the right thing for this country, enough people will see what we've done as the right thing and make sure we stay in office." He thundered to desk-thumping support by his members. He added, "That's how we differ from the UNC. They feel they have to pander to every nonsense," he said in the Parliament yesterday as he made his contribution to the debate. The Property Tax Amendment Bill 2024 was passed with 20 government members voting for and 15 opposition members voting against it. Meanwhile, UNC leader Kamala Prasad-Bissessar told the Parliament certain aspects of the bill were incorrect. Member of Parliament for Superior described as hurried government's preparation of the bill. She said the opposition cannot give its support to the bill at this time in its current form. And the opposition leader, Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar, has called for a total repeal of the Property Tax Amendment Act. She argued that people who are under more pressure now than ever were 15 years ago when this tax was first introduced. Several measures are being taken to help address gun crimes in the Port of Spain Police District. This confirmed by Minister of National Security Fitzgerald Hines. On Saturday, 5 persons, including a police sergeant, were killed when men with guns opened fire at a group of individuals at Harp Place Development in Port of Spain. Minister Hines is urging people not to make Harp murders a political issue. Speaking in the House of Representatives yesterday, he said, "What does not help, Madam Speaker, is some unwieldy politicians jumping in the middle of the incident and disrespecting with the very use of the inclement and indecent language, politicking, as one of his colleagues did. We are doing things that the right-thinking professional police organizations must do now, and this is how we're responding to this situation." He was at the time responding to an urgent question in Parliament from Urupooch East MP Dr. Rudal Monilal, who would ask him to indicate what measures would be implemented to address the increase in gun crimes in Port of Spain in light of the murders of 5 persons at Harp Place on Saturday. Miss World T&T Asha Abrams is back home to a VIP welcome after placing fourth at the 71st Miss World competition in Mumbai, India. Asked how she felt upon her return, Abrams said, quote, "It's an honor to represent Sweet T&T on this platform. In making the top 4, I wanted to make home proud, and I'm very happy I've had so much support. The crown would have been great, but to win the hearts of my people is all I needed, and I feel blessed to have done that." While she appreciated the support of T&T, Abrams says she looked forward to taking up her duty as Caribbean Queen. She said it's such an honor, and her heart was full representing T&T, but now representing the beautiful region of the Caribbean. I know it's a great responsibility, and I'm ready to be the voice of all of us, not just T&T. The Central Statistical Office is reporting an increase in the inflation rate by 0.3%. There's also been an increase in the price of some food items. In a statement issued yesterday, the CSA noted that the inflation rate for February 2024 was measured. The changes in all items indexed for the month of February over February 2023 was 0.8%. It represents an increase of 0.3%, which was recorded in the previous period, January 24 to January 23. The inflation rate for the comparative period 23 to 22 was 7.6%. The index on food and non-alcoholic beverages increased from 147.4 in January 2024 sorry, to 147.9 in February 2024, reflecting an increase in 0.3%. Contributing significantly to this increase was general upward movement in the prices of fresh kingfish, fresh carrot, cucumbers, cabbages, white flour, table margarine, grapes, fresh whole chicken, edus, and melangen. However, the CSO noted the full impact of these prices were offset by the general decreases in the price of tomatoes, Irish potatoes, oranges, soybean oil, celery, chives, mixed fresh seasoning, plantains, pumpkin, and dasheen. The Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission is advising school principals and supervisors that from today, it will activate an additional hotline to ensure an efficient electricity service is maintained for the secondary school entrance assessment centers on the day of the examination, Thursday, 21st March 2024. Effective from noon Monday, March 18th, 24, and continuing until 3 p.m. on exam day, principals and supervisors can call and text T&T's hotline at 794-4823 or 794-7264 to report any disruptions in their electricity service or any In news of the region, Grenadians have been advised that a significant increase in Saharan dust concentration has begun to affect Grenada. Conditions are expected to improve by Thursday. Persons should take precautionary measures, especially those with respiratory issues and mariners while out at sea. The Grenada Meteorological Service will continue to monitor the weather and provide updates when necessary. And finally, the BBC is reporting Donald Trump cannot find a private company to guarantee US $464 million he has been ordered to pay in the New York civil fraud case. The former president must either pay the full amount in cash or secure a bond in order to continue his appeal. Mr. Trump's lawyer said on Monday that securing a bond of that size was practically impossible. For a fee, a bonding company would guarantee the full amount to the New York court. They would have to pay it if Mr. Trump loses his appeal and cannot do so himself. And that is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. Good morning.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Morning, neighbors. It is 9 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us on the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital. Of course, on the show this morning, it's the R's. Yep, we just heard from Super Paul. Paul Richards. We'll hear from Richard Ragoobarsingh. We've got Ruben in the mix. We got Shane in another studio. My name is Steve Khan. Quickly, let me just tell you, it was a warm morning. It is indeed. It is 26 degrees on both islands. And traffic-wise, let's see if we have anything to tell you about. Let's see. Nothing really to tell you about at this time. All right. Let me say good morning. Good on to Super Paul. Morning to you, my friend.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, friend. What's happening? You all right? You had a good night?
Yeah. Had a long day yesterday. Have a long day today.
Yeah. Yesterday was a long day. I didn't get home till like after 8. And time I organized myself, it was 9, and I said, you know what? Straight to bed one time, which I did. Knocked out until my alarm went off this morning. I was exhausted. But let's say good morning, good out to a few folks that sent us hellos. First thing, DJ Ray out in Tampa, Oliver Man Warren, Marcia Rock out in Orlando, and Tinto out in Ontario, Canada, Slick Money Grip, Wayne B in Covington, Georgia, got Silly in Valencia, Wendy and James, Sasha out in London, Ewart Ratchpole, D. Pierre, good morning, Boy Bedesi, CJ out in New York, Mo Gaines out in Aruka, Rena Boodoo Jennings, Ray. Yep, who's recuperating from her birthday celebrations yesterday. Hope you had a good day, Ray. Carol Guevara, Huda Wells, Brenda Isaac, good morning to you. John Cato, Trinidad Margot out in Port St. Lucie. And Trinidad Margot, Port St. Lucie is the fastest growing city in Florida, would you believe? Gloria Gray, good morning. Karen Joseph, Siobhan Wilson, Patrick DeFore, Shuin Kerr, Lester Craigwell, good morning to you. And of course, coming up at 11:06 this evening, for those in North America, it will be the first day of spring. You guys are going to love that. So, yeah.
That doesn't mean it's not cold.
It doesn't mean it's not cold, but it had a warm winter. GNC Auto Security via WhatsApp. Good morning. Dan Raj.
It's not bad winter.
Good morning.
It's not bad winter at all.
It was a warm winter for everybody.
It wasn't as terrible as last year, as I remember. It was snowstorms last year. I didn't get as many snowstorms this year.
No, not really.
That one too.
Not really. I know Colorado had some serious snow over the weekend, but New York and Toronto and so on, they probably got 1 or 2 heavy snowfall, and that was it. Temperatures warmed up and it all melted. So good morning to you guys out in North America.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. It's Tuesday morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. And also those of you all around the world, as far in some instances as Australia and Japan, we thank you for logging on every morning.
Michael out in Yokohama, Japan. Let's say good morning. Good out to Josie Richardson, Paul Prudent. Good morning. Anila Sunath. Good morning to you as well.
Messages and tell us what kind of device you're viewing and listening to us on, please. I'm curious to know.
That's it.
Is it your television? Is it your tablet? Is it your computer? Is it your phone? Let us know what type of device you're looking at us on or listening to us on.
Yeah. I know Ray uses a television. Anila's on Facebook. Josie's on YouTube. Carl M. Jack. Good morning to you. Hope all is well.
That doesn't answer the question.
No. And some people.
So good morning to Carl from Baghdad. Wow. Carl is on his phone. Margaret's on phone. Right. Wonderful.
Vaughn Drayton on my phone. Morning, Vaughn.
So your mobile and stuff, that's great. Fix the ticker tape. What's wrong with the ticker tape?
What's wrong with the ticker tape?
Oh, sorry. My bad. I was lazy this morning. Sorry. It's Tuesday.
Karen Joseph.
I just changed the 19th. Thank you for that.
It's Karen Joseph in New York. Carol Guevara on my television.
You see how astute you are?
Yeah.
You notice everything. Television and phone seat taken.
Yeah.
Television, that's good. Yeah, bring it up on YouTube. That's wonderful.
Should I zoom in my camera a little bit? Zoom out? I could zoom out.
I have your jack for you. I'm sorry I took your jack on Sunday here to train a young
folks. Let me just let you all know. I came in yesterday. I went into my office, picked up the camera and picked up the headphones. Only realized my quarter-inch jack for my headphones disappeared. Well, I hit the roof. I said, who would go and take my jack? So I'm scrambling now to find a jack.
Did I not admit it? Did I not own up to it, Steve Kern?
After the fact, yeah. You did.
Yeah. I borrowed it.
I had to rig something, and I went in the newsroom, and there was Superport. I said, someone stole my jack. We don't have criminals in here.
I said, no.
I said, no. I took it on Sunday.
To bring it back. I actually happy to bring it today.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think today is World Down Syndrome Day, if I'm not mistaken, because I know I'm hosting the conference later at the Hyatt Regency. So,
are you? What time is that?
From 9 to 1. And then I have half hour to get to the Parliament. Which will probably go till about 9 tonight.
Seriously? Why?
Because they have a lot to do. And then I have 2 GSCs tomorrow.
Which is on ages? You took a rough week to leave to have no sugar.
And then I have academic meeting on Thursday. So I can't wait for Friday.
Clearly.
And my first cup of coffee, and it will get to 3 before the day is out. Good morning, Mrs. R.
I have my coffee in my car. Beefy
Anyway.
Smith out in Goodwood, Tobago. Good morning to you as well.
Welcome home to Asha Abrams. I'm glad we welcomed her like a VIP yesterday. I know Minister Donna Cox went up as part of the contingent, so we're happy that she's back on home soil. Because she's happy to have represented us, and she said the support she received warmed her heart, and she's now happy to take up her duties as Queen of the Caribbean and the Americas, representing the region. So, beautiful young lady. Her family was at her side, and we're really happy that she's done us so proud. I keep saying that what she was able to do in terms of marketing Trinidad and Tobago positively, millions and millions of dollars worth. So we're really proud of her, and we're really happy that she represented us so well. What else is the good news this morning? We're making an effort to start with good news. Good morning to Rena. Rena is very adamant that we start with good news sometimes.
Chris Toussaint out in Washington, D.C. Good morning to you. He's on his phone. Katie is on CarPlay. Ray is on TV.
I should turn on my TV and see how it looks on the TV. I'll do that just now. The other good news is that the prices of tomatoes, Irish potatoes, oranges, soya bean oil, celery, chives, or chive as we say, excuse me, mixed, fresh seasoning, plantains, pumpkin, and dasheen all decreased. On the other hand, kingfish.
The price of fish is very expensive.
Cucumber, carrot,
a pound of
cabbage, kingfish, white flour, table margarine, grapes, fresh whole chicken, edus, and mélange aubergine increased. Non-alcoholic beverages increased in terms of their index from 147.4 in January 23 to 147.9 in February 24. So some things went up, some things went down. You know, never a dull moment. And the T&T has advised principals, if you didn't hear the news, and the supervisors, that there's a hotline in place from yesterday, all the way to 3 p.m. on SEA Day this coming Thursday.
Yeah. Of course, primary schools are closed half day today. There'll be no school on tomorrow, actually, and Thursday, which is SEA Day. Don't worry, parents. The kids are going to do just fine. They will.
Yeah, don't stress them out now. You can't force anything in the next 36 hours.
Mind
you.
Know
what they know.
Yeah, mind you.
As a matter of fact, stressing them out is going to make them, in some instances, shut down. Tell them you love them and just do your best.
You know, when Skylar is going to do SEA, I'll be a big time wreck. I'll talk about ID school.
So now we got past this may be good news to some people, and it may not be good news to some people. Property tax amendment bill passed in the House yesterday. Dr. Rowley, who seemed visibly not himself in terms of his physical health, he did say he wasn't feeling well. And he came out of his bed to make a contribution to Parliament yesterday. And if that is him not well, he was on fire yesterday.
He was.
If that is him on half or three-quarter. He spoke after Princestown MP Barry Paderas. And I know you say I sarcastic, but I am. But maybe I'm getting lessons somewhere, because he started by saying, Madam Speaker, I'm coming into this debate, and let me say exactly what he said. I crave your indulgence and apologize for my physical condition, which might restrict me from taking part in this debate, but I find very little to comment on after that contribution from our colleague MP for Princestown, Paderas. Nonetheless, he went on to breathe some fire and, in his opinion, point out what he described as hypocrisy from the UNC. He said the PNM is not afraid of being voted out of office for having done the right thing. And he made no bones about that. He said, we believe, and I'm quoting here, we believe that as we do the right thing for this country, enough people will see that we have done the right thing and will make sure we stay in office. He said, this is how we differ from the UNC. They feel they have to pander to every nonsense, he said in Parliament yesterday. The Property Tax Amendment Bill 2024 was passed with 20 government members voting for and 15 opposition members voting against, which means everybody wasn't in Parliament yesterday. But it passed with a simple majority, you know. Mrs. Pasalbi says that the opposition leader said, in her opinion, certain aspects of the bill were incorrect. She said the UNC could not give it support. She called it the poverty tax. And the UNC voted against it. She said in 2009, Dr. Keith Rowley stood up against the Patrick Manning government and said the property tax was a burden to the people. And she emphasized that her position remained unchanged. She was against it 15 years ago and today. She said, quote, I am of the view that this tax is not property tax. I believe it is poverty tax that will bring further citizens to pauperization. So, the Minister of Finance also clarified that the bill was not suspended. The property tax was not suspended, as had been indicated on notices on government offices last week. Well, it's like the right hand don't know what the left hand doing. Because there were several offices that posted signs on the door saying property tax suspended until further notice. You understand? I got several pictures of that. So the minister said some public servants did that again, and they were not authorized to do that. So, so it's now law. There were several issues raised about the evaluation methods and the discrepancies in valuation and the process by which one can voice concerns and issues if they believe that they have been inaccurately assessed. Let me put it that way. We shall see. We shall see. You know? Well, we'll see. So that happened. Interesting yesterday. You know, is it Suzette Martin is her name? Senior Superintendent Suzette Martin. I think that's her name. Her name came up as a nominee for Deputy Commissioner of Police yesterday. No, it's not going to the Senate. Is it? I don't know. I don't know. It may, because there were amendments, so it may. We'll see. Suzette Martin was promptitude again.
Yes, pretty good.
2 days promptitude.
Yeah, you got full points.
You really will give that boy a complex, you know, Richard.
No, if you're not there, he's be answering. He's telling you some.
Oh, I know Richard very well.
Exclamation mark and thing. Hello, good morning! Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark!
All I say is good morning. I'm very civil. That's all I say.
You know, in writing, and when you're doing text, exclamation mark is like shouting, right?
Yeah, but I mean, no. Well, what is more like shouting is if you put everything in capital letters.
Yeah, but exclamation mark is shouting too.
And that's a real shout.
So what the exclamation mark is a nudge from you. Anyway, Senior Superintendent Suzette Martin, her name came up as a nominee yesterday in the House of Representatives for the position of Deputy Commissioner of Police. You will remember that 3 names went up a couple of weeks ago, and one name was voted down by the government, or not supported by the government, let me say. I think they stayed silent, if I remember correctly, right? And 2 names were confirmed, and they are now DCPs. Well, another name went up, I think, last week and was debated yesterday. It was piloted by Minister of National Security Fitzgerald Hines. There was a response from Orpooch East MP, Dr. Rudal Munilal, and Dr. Moon, I brought up, politicians, politicians. I don't know the woman. I mean no personal disrespect against her, and then went out to read one set of thing, including, and validly so, which Mr. Hines responded to, that she has been charged for, I think it's reckless driving. I could have the phrasing wrong, right? Due to an accident recently. So she'd been charged. So the matter is before the courts. And they both cited the sub judice rule, but of course went into some issues about it and had to be put up by House Speaker Bridget Anderson George. So, and also MP Munilal brought up the Brent Thomas case, in which he alleged that she was involved in some other case. And Minister Hines responded and saying that the case with the Brent Thomas case was not necessarily against Senior Superintendent Suzette Martin, because she was seemingly one of the officers who went to Barbados, And MP Munidal cited the judgment that identified the issue as being described by the judge as abduction, illegal, and before the courts. And then Minister Hines responded and saying, well, it's a constitutional challenge that is under appeal by the state. And he went on to cite the Barbadian Attorney General, and he stopped. And I know why he stopped. He stopped because the Barbadian Attorney General identified the action as going beyond the ambits of the law. And I'm paraphrasing there. You understand?
Yeah.
So he had to stop because he wouldn't have moved his case right. But in any case, his point was that it was a constitutional motion against the state and not Senior Superintendent Suzette Martin per se as a person. You understand?
Right.
So to bring it up in that sort of scenario was out of context and erroneous. But somebody's saying it's dangerous driving. Yeah, thank you for the correction. But it's just passing as odd to me. And also, Tobago, is it East or West MP? Ayanna Webster Roy, Minister Ayanna Webster Roy, also stood up and gave a personal testimony supporting Suzette Martin, who she said she knew personally, who she said was a career-long police officer who dedicated her life to the police service and was also a great mother and person. So that's basically what happened. But I mean, it's just to me, I mean, yes, you're innocent until proven guilty. And that, I think that's the premise upon which some people may look at this. She's charged, she's not convicted. But I mean, it's interesting that somebody who's under a charge for what is a relatively serious offense comes up for nomination and is confirmed.
Oh, so she was confirmed?
Yeah, the government voted in support of her. According to Minister Hines, he forcefully recommended at the end her nomination, and he begged to move. And the government say, yeah, aye, and the opposition said no. There was a division, and of course the government won because they have greater numbers in the House. So she was confirmed.
Oh, okay.
You know, on the other hand, what's his name? Wendell Lucas? Is that his name?
I can't remember his name, Was it him?
I think that's his name.
The very first one who was refused.
Who was refused.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was no reason given for his refusal. You understand? So it's almost like it's odd to me. On the one hand, no reason proffered for the refusal of somebody whose name comes up first. On the other hand, this is a very serious issue and their support. I mean, it's the government's full remit to do that. Don't get me wrong. But it's just, it almost seems like if we want you, we want you.
Yeah.
It just was very, very odd to me. And again, someone is innocent until proven guilty, so she's charged. There's no way of knowing if a conviction will hold or if she'll be exonerated. You understand? So maybe that's the basis upon which they proceeded. Would that be correct and a correct assumption, Richard?
It will have to be that. It will have to be on that basis.
Yeah. So, but and she was also apparently the head of the Professional Standards Bureau, and there was some 5 or 6 complaints read out by Dr. Munidal against her from some officer who accused her of perverting the course of justice or something in some case or the other. But Minister Hines' response was that, well, as head of the PSB, one would expect there will be complaints from officers who may be under the radar of the PSB from time to time. You understand? So he responded to the
I mean, that's plausible,
news.
but
It's
yeah,
plausible.
I mean, yeah,
It's plausible. Anybody in a senior position and somebody may be investigating them may, as part of their defense proffer, but I have this against you and I have that against you, you know?
yeah. What
John
was
Cato
the
is saying traffic offenses are different from criminal offenses. Is that true, Richard?
well? Some straddle. Some become, they straddle. Like for example, vehicular manslaughter. You know,
But I don't think anyone died in that situation.
it's pretty serious.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
don't think
so
anyone
it
died.
straddles, but they are considered lesser offenses
Yeah.
generally. But there's some that straddle depending on what the
But it's
circumstances.
dangerous driving, which is, I'm sure, very, very far legally from vehicular manslaughter. You understand?
Yeah.
So
you have different, yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting. I saw some of the news last night where they were talking about the property tax again, because the property tax debate was yesterday. And of course, the Prime Minister,
they bring Dr. Rolio Tibet, yes?
the Prime Minister was very adamant, let me put it that way, I'm putting it politely, that he was not afraid of losing elections, and that he would determine to do the right thing, and he said it with much fervor and enthusiasm and energy. And of course, Carmen Prasad-Bissessar was saying her position was axe the wicked tax.
You know, friend Mark Collins, you make a good point. You make a very good point there. He says, and I'm quoting, but why the UNC making scene about it? They have member of parliament not stepping down when they have serious cases before the courts. That's a fair comment. Not so?
Politicians have,
That's a fair comment.
but politicians have a murky, as former Prime Minister Basdio Pandey once said.
That is a very fair comment.
Politics have a morality of
so if you don't think that she should be nominated because she has a traffic offense pending in the courts, but you have members of parliament who have cases before the court, it doesn't align with non-hypocritical thought processes. You understand?
Well, I understand yes and no.
Well,
because I see it, because this is obviously a public official going up for a very
agreed
high office. So you hold them to a standard. Politicians, we generally don't hold to the same standard, unfortunately, or they don't hold themselves to the same standard of which we are familiar.
And should we accept that? We're talking politicians across the board here.
But we don't accept it. We comment on it.
Yeah.
But we can't do anything on it about it until 5 years later, or unless there's enough public pressure that forces the hand of whoever.
Yeah.
In terms of dealing with it. But then it comes back to the same thing: innocent until proven guilty.
Innocent until proven guilty. So, but if you align yourself with the principle of innocent until proven guilty, you cannot have an issue with someone who's not been convicted being eligible for a position.
Well, you could still have it.
You could have it, but I mean,
human beings are made up that way.
Consistency is important.
Yeah, but human beings are made up that way that they will not see what they say. Get a beam out of your own eye.
But consistency is important. Consistency of position is important.
Yeah, but politicians have always had very vague moral pinnings when it comes to their issues. Very vague.
Why don't you say some politicians?
Which is why they say, well, some politicians. Let me say that. Let me clarify.
Like some lawyers may have very vague moral underpinnings.
Well, human beings. But it has to start somewhere in terms of holding.
It has to start somewhere.
Public officials accountable.
Yeah.
So it's better that it be brought out in the public sphere than be hidden. I'm all for transparency, and the government still went ahead and said, well, even we didn't think that disbarred her
from being
in the position, which is fine. I prefer that things are ventilated in that kind of way than not ventilated.
Well, it was ventilated, to be fair. It was the issues were brought up by Dr. Munal, And Minister Hines responded, and Minister Webster responded to what Dr. Munidal brought up. And you're right, that is the kind of transparency we want to see.
Yep.
As opposed to Wendell Lucas, who it was just no.
Yeah, and you didn't know why.
And you didn't know why. And then it cast a huge shadow over his entire career. You understand? So I would have preferred to say, listen to me. But I guess they don't want to go into details because some things are pending, but I prefer to know.
Yeah. I always prefer things come out.
Yeah.
You know.
Very important.
But hypocrisy and duplicity runs rife with politicians.
Some politicians.
Okay, Paul. Some politicians.
I just want this to be accurate.
Okay.
You know, I'm a legislator.
But obviously, the UNC and the PNM have opposing views on the property tax. As indicated yesterday, and I think the UNC's position, I could be corrected if I'm wrong, is that it reverts to what it was before.
But land and building taxes?
Yeah, the remember it was an annual amount of 300 and something or whatever it is that you paid in terms of land and building taxes. They're saying revert to that, and don't give people the burden of this. Of course, the PNM's position, as articulated by the Prime Minister, is that you need to do this now and get it done, and it's right for the country to do it at this point, and we are doing it, regardless of the consequences. If you're saying that we will lose elections or whatever, they figure this is what is necessary to move the country forward, and that's what they're going to do.
My issue is I think they need to deal frontally and effectively. I think this is the perspective of Mariana Brown yesterday, with the issues raised related to the valuation.
Well, they've extended it for 6 months, apparently, where you can raise your objections to whatever valuation you got. I think they're giving you a 6-month period in which to raise it.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what came out of the news last night.
But also there were some concerns raised by the UNC about whether a tribunal that's supposed to be in place is actually in place as part of the response mechanism from persons who feel aggrieved. You know, development economist Dr. Marlene Add says, while a reduced, and I'm quoting from The Guardian here in an article by Ernesto Alves, while a reduced property tax may be more appealing to homeowners, it could have implications for revenue collection. Speaking to Guardian Media yesterday, Matz recalled Imbers saying that the tax to be collected will be distributed to municipal corporations, estimated at $8 to $12 million to help finance operations during his 2024 national budget presentation. It means that people who pay tax within their municipality contribute to that corporation's financial ability to provide services to them. She said the government reducing the tax rate means less money will be collected, obviously. One third less, from
logically,
from 3 to 2, and allocated to these corporations. There will be a deficit based on what was anticipated or estimated to be collected from property tax. So is it that the government will meet the shortfalls if they are?
That will have to be. That has to be the logical assumption that's going to happen.
Yeah, right? She recalled,
and we don't know if you give it 6 months for people to, if that's true, that they're giving 6 months for people to object to their valuations, then it means even you've kicked the can even further down the road, because how are you going to implement it? No, not everybody's objecting. No. Are those going to be paying the 2%? I guess. So I guess it's a kind of.
And the minister said there'll be rebates. I think it's 800 and something people already paid, and they'll have a rebate or something, right? One of the issues Dr. Atz raised that I am very adamant about, and I mean, taxes are to me inevitable in any society. It's how societies fund state services generally, right? One of the ways I should say in the societies fund state services is that people need to have a reasonable expectation. Actually, not an expectation. People need to have a return in their investment. As it is, you're paying more for X, you're paying more for Y, you're paying more and stuff. And there is a general feeling in society that the services we receive are not up to par.
Are you
You
talking about
understand?
local government services?
I'm talking about across the board.
Okay.
I'm talking across the board. You understand? And that's part of my issue. I have no problem with taxation. Taxation is part of what
I always have a problem with taxation. I'm sorry.
I know, but in certain societies, what it is.
I am instinctively
And
I always instinctively
and
have a
all you
problem.
saw, and all you saw, let's go to Scandinavian countries and say, oh my God, look how well everything works. Look how nice the road is. Oh my, the healthcare is fantastic. Oh, look at
Well,
the
they're born into
education.
that, and they're born into
And the
paying that tax.
education system is amazing. And oh my God, look at the infrastructure and art investment. And they tax 55 to 60% of the thing. And you have no problem getting all them services.
But
Okay?
those are cradle to grave societies,
Lord,
Paul.
oh my God.
But Paul, those are cradle to grave societies, and they don't have a cultural and historical background of wastage of taxpayers' money.
And my issue is not that the wastage shouldn't happen. I am talking about that. And that's exactly my point. That if we pay the taxes, the level of services and infrastructure we should have should be commensurate. There is an expectation. You go to New York, oh my God, it's so fantastic. Look at Central Park. Oh my God, the road is so clean. Look how clean they clear up the snow in the fall. Taxes. So if you are paying the tax, I need the service.
And when you don't get it, what happens?
Excuses.
And when you don't get it, what happens, Paul?
This happening and that happening.
Because we pay tax now, and we pay health charge now. And are you satisfied with the services that we get for the taxes we pay now?
Agreeing on that point. My point is, yes, pay the tax, but the state need to supply the damn services at the level we want it.
And what is the history of that, Paul?
Whether the history, you are one who says you always hope for the better in the future, and we have to live in optimism.
And I am powerless.
We demand better
and I am powerless regardless. If they want to raise the tax rate to 50% tomorrow, we are powerless. The state can do that.
Right, and they need to.
But what I'm saying
make sure
is, what is the historical context of what you're saying? It's not sudden. Is it suddenly going to change?
I'm not saying it will suddenly change. I'm saying we demand it, and it should happen. If you are demanding we pay taxes, and you are,
yes,
because we have no say in the property tax.
Nope.
That's a demand. Okay,
yep.
That's an imposition. Yep. You have no say. You can't say, well, I ain't feeling to pay it.
Yeah, and over 50% of homeowners have followed what you required.
Right, and the state needs to stop making excuses and provide the level of service that is required for us paying the taxes. We're paying for that. It's not a lie.
Well, you got no argument from me.
Right, so we're agreeing. We're agreeing.
Considering that, no, they should be held accountable.
We're agreeing.
Provide
and that's what Dr. Atz is saying. She's saying that there is an expectation that should be fulfilled. So when you add this and you add gas tax and you add this and you add this and you add that gas tax and this and that, and the road's still crap. Public transportation is still horrible.
How much we pay when we buy a vehicle?
You understand?
Yeah.
Stay at the line up for hours and hours in the waiting room.
Citizens pay when they buy a vehicle. Other Caribbean islands don't pay so much taxes on a new vehicle that we pay. We pay a lot of taxes on a new vehicle.
Fully agreed.
And
fully agreed. We know benefit from the car sellers.
What end?
Very much so.
So what end? Somebody just brought up an interesting question about what happens if you get the inland revenue notice to go and pay, but you have not received your valuation notice. How can you object? Well, I suppose embedded in that inland revenue notice to pay would be you could calculate, or there should be some reference to what your valuation is, I'm assuming. And you can at least backtrack it from the 2% or the 3%, because some people will still get 3% notices because it was only debated yesterday. So I mean, at that point, I suppose you could object that way, but it's an interesting question because some people are getting that tax notice before they actually get the actual valuation. You probably should contact the valuation division that you would have submitted your documents to find out what's happened with your statement, because they email it to you.
I will ask Minister Ember
Do they email it to you?
come on
Or they send it
tomorrow
to
or
you in
Thursday
email?
again and see if
No,
he
they send
holds.
it to you in email. Say that again, Paul.
I will ask Mr. Mr. Ember to join us before the end of the week so we can ask him some questions, right? You have papers?
Yes, I do actually.
All right. Well, let's get in the headlines and then we give the results of our morning poll, which, by the way, it's a tie so far. So let's change that.
All right, so our daily express for today, of course, today is Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. The main headline, PM defense property tax implementation, not afraid of losing elections. Reasonable tax, Prime Minister Keith Rowley speaks in Parliament. Yesterday, Kamala axed the wicked tax. Ashe is back, so there's a picture of Ashe Abrahams returning Trinidad and Tobago to much fanfare and positive energy, which is well deserved. There's a picture, of course, of that her coming back into the airport yesterday on the front page of the Express. On the back page, Holder, we've got to hold our nerve and deliver on the day. And Middleton back with a bang. So that's the front and back page of the Daily Express, the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today. VIP welcome for Ashe. That's the main headline. Miss World delegate returns to fanfare at Piarco, longing for a good Trini doubles. Minister pledges to support mental health cause. Cops interrogate pastor at center of SSA probe. No charges yet in Hannah Mathura murder case. All of that is on the front page. And the property tax bill passed in the House, just in case you didn't know. All of that is on the front page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian today. On the back page, Stickmen start World Cup quest. And the main picture is that of City FC's Jadiel Joseph burst pass. How big of that now? This is glasses time. It's a little tiny. It's a little tiny. EIA's Jean-Marc Thomas during the NLCL Under-19 Community Cup final match between AIA and City FC at the Larry Gomes Stadium in Malabar Arena on Sunday. City FC won 3-0. So that's on the back page of the Trinidad Guardian. Moving on to the news day for today. The front page, family left without breadwinner after ultimate sacrifice. Harp plays hero. That's the main headline. The main picture is that of Ashe Abrahams returning, greets fans at the Piarco International Airport on Monday on a return to Trinidad and Tobago after a recent success at the Miss World pageant in India. So that's her on the front page, looking as gorgeous as ever. And on the back page, elbow injury forces early end to ex-Carifta champ's career. Horsford retires and Red Force women hunt first T20 Blaze win. Of course, we should try to get Ashe on the show, Paul. And so that's it for the three dailies this morning. Faris Al-Rawi said yesterday, I think in the debate poll, that property taxes to do things like, with property tax, they'll be able to do things like make our place a gated community. I don't know if you heard that.
Is that what you guys were talking about in the chat? I didn't read any.
Yeah, it was so strange. It was such a strange. After what happened in her place, it was just like, what? What? Did I hear what I just heard? What? So, what's your idea for the poll this morning?
Well, it follows our conversation about value for money with taxes. So, do you think you're getting value for money with your taxes being paid in T&T is my suggestion.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I know we've asked versions of that before, but yeah, we can ask it.
All right.
Shall we go? I'm ready.
Let's get results of our morning poll. I'm just redoing it to see if I have it with a tie. And let's see. Right. So it's changed. Yesterday's poll. Do you think there's a state-related hit squad operating in our beloved Trinidad and Tobago? Well, 63%, 63 said no. All right. Thank you. Our poll this morning.
Do you think you're getting value for money with your taxes being paid in Trinidad and Tobago? That's our poll this morning. What says you?
I'll be back.
So 222 talk 222-8255, North Americans 866-525-1099. People on the web and the app and all of our streaming platforms, you can send your vote via the messaging portal there, and you can tell us what you think. Do you think that you are getting value for money with your taxes being paid in Trinidad and Tobago?
Via WhatsApp at 318-1021. Captain Ron says yes. Jaron Joseph says no. Royalty Forever says no. Josie Richardson, no. Keegan Barrett, no. Showin Kerr says no. Somebody says absolutely not. Who is that? No name. Okay, absolutely not. Boy Badesi, no. All right, let's see. Paul Prudence says no. Andre, no. Beefy Smith in beautiful Goodwood, Tobago says no. John Cato says yes to the poll. Julia S. Batiste says no. Sangre Grande, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Sangre Grande, no.
All righty, thank you. Ron M. says no. Alistair Hart says yes to the poll. Eve out in Sugar Guanas. Good morning to you, Eve. Eve says no. Helen Prescott, no. CJ New York, no. Clifton Simpson, no. Do you think you are getting value for money with your taxes being paid in T&T? Carol Guevara, morning, Doodoo, says no, not.
So
Helen
222 talk 222. Yeah,
Helen Prescott says no. Cheryl Johnson says no. Finbar Collins says yes. Vaughn Drayton says no to the poll.
So do you think you're getting value for money with your taxes being paid in Trinidad and Tobago? That's our poll this morning. 222 talk 222-8255. North Americans 866-525
1099.
1099. I'm wondering whether the diaspora may have an opinion on this because they're not here to know whether we get in services. That's why I paused. And then, of course, people on our streaming services, you can send in your vote, but they visit to us, so I guess they can. And of course, you can also vote via WhatsApp at 318-1021.
Cascade St. Anne's via WhatsApp says no. DL on YouTube, no. Beauty Culture on YouTube, no. All of the Man Warren also on YouTube says no. Ish out in Malik, how you going, Ish? Says no. All right. Do you think you're getting value for money with your taxes being paid in Trinidad and Tobago? Are you getting value for money? Yes or no? We want to know. You have
Guy Small says no.
Yeah.
And Wayne Joseph
in Ontario, Canada says yes. What says you? Caller, where are you calling us from?
Oh, this is DJ Ray from Tampa.
Hi, DJ Ray. Morning.
I said no.
You said no. Thank you, DJ Ray out in Tampa. Have a good one.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Enjoy your first day of spring. It's tomorrow, but it actually kicks in at 11:06 this evening. Lennon Roberts
said no.
says no. Do you think you're getting value for money with your taxes being paid in Trinidad and Tobago?
Yep. 222 talk 222-8255. North Americans 866-525-1099. People on the web and the app know what to do, and of course,
morning, Ragoobarsingh, politics, and Wendell.
Patrick.
Hey, everything in Trinidad and Tobago subsidized. People working for under 75,000 do pay tax. They get free bus ride, free boat ride. The government house,
yes or no?
house subsidized.
Yes or no, Mr. Patrick?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Thank you.
That is our subsidized state.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick. Have a good one. Adrian Kotu says no. Ronald Roberts, you didn't vote. Tapish Sukram. Thanks, Tapish. When you sit in this chair, you could change. You could have your own poll. We just asking you yes or no. We didn't ask for you.
222 talk 222-8255. North Americans 866-525-1099. Do you think you're getting value for money with your taxes being paid in Trinidad and Tobago? That's our poll this morning. What says you?
Well says no. Good morning, Huda Wells. Michael Robinson says no. Sexy San Fernando. Morning, Sexy San Fernando. Says no. We actually pay 10 cents a litre on taxes. That's called a road tax. Keith Stalker or Straker says yes. Rena Boodoo Jennings, yes. You know, Tapish, that's the last time I'll be reading your messages. I think we'll just block you from now.
Do you think you are getting value for money with your taxes being paid in Trinidad and Tobago? That's our poll this morning.
Good morning, caller.
222-8255.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Sleepyhead.
What taxes we pay in here so to get that people want? Everything they want in this country, they want it for free. They want to bring here now to be a welfare state. Yes, we getting what we the liquor we put in out. We getting it back.
Thank you, Zena. Ian Robley says yes. All right. Do you think you are getting value for money? Taxes being paid in T&T? 222-8255. North Americans toll free 866-525-1099 on WhatsApp at 318-1021 on Facebook and on YouTube. All right. All right. Thank you, Wayne B. We have a couple of seconds again because the big bad wolf is going to walk in 30 seconds. Yep. The big bad wolf. We call her Avril St. Hill Pab. Let's see. I totally agree with you, Sexy San Fernando. Totally agree. All right. Let's grab this call. Good morning.
Yeah, morning. Good morning. No, we're not getting value for money, but I don't want to say no, but the word not radio friendly. But we know we're not getting value for money.
All righty. Thank you. If you went shopping, well, that's a nice little top there. That's the only compliment you'll ever get from me. You know that, right?
Lies.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any more votes coming in? Let's just check. Kenny out in Harlem says yes to the poll. Joe Sam says no. Trinidad Margo. Right. Okay, let's get into our major news. Are you ready, Evie?
Yes, I am.
Can you say hit it, please?
Hit it, please.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Government claims UNC supported the property tax in 2013 but has a new position now. The opposition warns it cannot support the property tax in its present form. Minister Fitzgerald Hines assures measures in place to address gun crimes in the country. And Commercial Bank of Ethiopia glitch lets customers withdraw millions. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintil-Bab. Good morning. The government claims in 2013, the United National Congress was in support of introducing the property tax on industrial plant and machinery in Phase 1 by July 1st, 2014. Finance Minister Colm Imbert said in Phase 2, the aim by the then government was to impose a tax on commercial properties. Phase 3 would have seen the tax implemented on agricultural lands and residential properties.
The UNC government in 2013 said that their plan was to immediately start to value industrial plant and machinery with a view to implementing a property tax on industrial plant and machinery by July 1st, 2014. In Phase 2, we will impose a tax on commercial properties, and in Phase 3, we will impose a tax on agricultural lands and on residential properties, with a deductible allowance to provide relief to certain agricultural landowners and low-income home owners.
However, while piloting debate on the Property Tax Amendment Bill 2024 in the House of Representatives on Monday, Minister Imbert said the UNC is now voicing a new position on the same tax.
I looked at the video, Madam Speaker, of that presentation, that budget presentation, and I saw that the member for Superior, who was Prime Minister at the time, on September the 9th, 2013, was sitting next to the Honorable Minister of Finance, Mr. Hawaii, and was applauding this statement made by the Minister of Finance, Mr. Larry Hawaii. The UNC to now adopt the position that this is a wicked tax is political hypocrisy at its highest.
And despite being ill, the Prime Minister contributed to debate on the Property Tax Amendment Bill 2024 in the House of Representatives on Monday. After Princestown MP Barry Padarath concluded his contribution, Dr. Rowley rose to speak. He apologized to House Speaker Bridget Anissa George for his physical condition in a slightly hoarse voice, saying it might have restricted him in taking part in the debate. The Prime Minister defended the implementation of the property tax, saying that the PNM was not afraid to lose the general election on account of doing the right thing in the country. The Prime Minister added that it was their hope that enough people would see that they did the right thing and would ensure they stay in office. He also said that is how they differ from the UNC, who feel they have to pander to every nonsense. The Property Tax Amendment Bill 2024 was passed with 20 government members voting for the bill and 15 opposition members voting against. Meanwhile, opposition leader of the UNC, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, told the parliament certain aspects of the bill were incorrect. The member of parliament for Superior described as hurried government's preparation of the bill.
And so hurried they were, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that there is a typographical error in their clause 2A that doesn't make any sense. They say, notwithstanding the date specified in subsection 1, the date will now be June 2024. But there is no 17.1. So how can you have a 17.2? You have nothing in 17.1, but they're so busy to try to grab money out of people's pockets. Still can't get it right. What that clause 2A is a whole new, brand new section, all 17 capital A.
Please.
She said the opposition cannot give its support to the bill at this time in its current form.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I will not be badgered and bullied by this minister. I will not be badgered and bullied. When you are here seeking to grab money out of people's pockets, man, we say no property tax in this country. No property tax in this country. This is not that you will never pay the tax, This is where they're going to defer it. And then when you die, it becomes a death tax. It is a death tax. It is an inheritance tax because your successor in title will become an inheritor of the tax. They will have to pay it.
Several measures are being taken to help address gun crimes in the Port of Spain Police Division. This was confirmed by Minister of National Security Fitzgerald Hines. On Saturday, 5 persons, including a police sergeant, were killed when men armed with guns fired shots at a group of individuals at Harp Development in Port of Spain. Hines said international cooperation have been strengthened in terms of getting help and equipment from the government of America in areas such as border protection.
Boosted up our international cooperation. We have found that the majority of the weapons that contribute to this sort of thing are coming from the United States. We've been working with the government of the United States where guns are sold legally, and we are trying to deal with their support to deal with the inflow of them in Trinidad and Tobago. They have assisted us in our border protection. We've gotten equipment from international agencies for ballistic testing and that sort of thing. UN LIREC is one of them.
Minister Hines said at the community level, emphasis is also being placed. The reduction in gangs and weakening their impact is also being done by the police service. It was revealed counseling is being provided by the Victim Witness and Support Unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to the families who lost their loved ones.
We put in place the GRACE program, and the government in its whole of government approach, whole of society approach, spending a lot of time and money strengthening and making the communities more resilient, and that is very important. Meanwhile, the police focusing on the gangs, using the anti-gang law and dealing with that sort of thing, getting at them, targeting prolific offenders known to the police. And of course, Madam Speaker, the Commissioner has stepped up patrols, static patrols, mobile patrols, foot patrols, and offering counseling to the people in that particular community and in all communities where this sort of thing subsists.
You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. The BBC is reporting Ethiopia's biggest commercial bank is scrambling to recoup large sums of money withdrawn by customers after a systems glitch. The customers discovered early on Saturday that they could take out more cash than they had in their accounts at the Commercial Bank of Ethiopia. More than $40 million was withdrawn or transferred to other banks. It took several hours for the institution to freeze transactions. And finally, here is weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, mostly sunny, hazy, and breezy conditions would be interrupted at times by the isolated shower in a few areas. Tonight would be mostly fair. A mild to moderate concentration of Sahara dust is present. Persons sensitive to these changes in air quality are being advised to exercise the necessary precautions. You can expect a temperature high of 33 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 32 degrees Celsius at Crown Point, Tobago. Currently, it's 28 degrees Celsius at Piarco and 27 at Crown Point. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock, government claims UNC supported the property tax in 2013 but has a new position now. The opposition warns it cannot support the property tax in its present form. Minister Fitzgerald Hines assures measures in place to address gun crimes in the country, and Commercial Bank of Ethiopia glitch lets customers withdraw millions. I'm Avril Sintilbab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All righty. Thank you, Avi. All right. Thank you, Avi, for our major news. Could join her again. Come at 8 o'clock for our news brief. Quickly, Taylor, what's happening traffic-wise? I got nothing really to tell you about in San Fernando as yet. Rivulet Road heading towards Coover Point. Lisa, that's a bit busy, and you're going to pick up some traffic just before you get to Monroe Road heading towards interchange. Slow going again from Chin Chin Road on the southern main road that heads to Ibis Gardens. All right, going to Santa Rosa and approaching O'Mara Road. O'Mara Road is pretty busy coming out to the highway. Piarco towards Macoya, and then Yui towards Port of Spain. Eastern Main Road, usual spots. You've got your traffic. All right, out of Maraval, let's see. Yep, out of Mocha, out of Diego Martin, still heavy. All right. Let's see if we have any more votes coming in via WhatsApp. I've got Tony from Sando saying no. I've got Slick Money Grip saying yes. Mogains saying yes. No, Mogain is saying no. Thank you, CJ. Same to you. And let's see. Andre, I think Andre voted already. Yeah. He's saying including VAT, customs duty, MVT, road tax. Yeah, we pay 10 cents per liter road tax. Been like that for a few years now. Right. Okay. So Rich, yeah, let's get the results. Of course, our poll is going to stay up on our mobile app and website until tomorrow morning when we give you the final result.
All right. So our poll this morning was: do you think you're getting value for money with your taxes being paid in Trinidad and Tobago? We had 48 people voting on the poll this morning, so it's quite a popular poll. 48 people voting on the poll. 37 said no, they do not think they're getting value for money with the taxes being paid. 11 people said yes, we are. So 37 said no, 11 said yes. So of course, the vast majority.
CPT Singh said yes.
So I'm already giving the results, Steve. So the vast majority of people who voted said no. Of course, you can continue to vote on the poll throughout the day, through all programming, and we'll give you the final results tomorrow morning, where people online can continue to vote on this poll this morning.
Well, I ain't see the guess yet.
Oh, you're loud there.
So CPT saying we'll take it up to 30.
Well, he'll say
49.
49 votes and 12 yes.
49 people. 12 yes, 37 saying no.
I ain't see the guess yet.
Yeah, load the volume of your mic there. Paul.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
I think we do get some benefits from the taxes we pay.
We do.
I mean, we do. Of course, I still find tertiary education should be free. That's just me.
It is free up to a point.
To a point.
Completely free.
Go and find it. The only place I see tertiary education free is is it the London Medical School is now offering free tuition. I want you to go anywhere else you want to tertiary education free. That doesn't mean we can't aspire to it, but we do have free.
There's some of those European countries like Slovenia or Croatia and stuff where it's free.
Look how gentle Mrs. R respond to Richard's comment. But Rich, it is. If it was me, hush your mouth.
Education is not free.
But you're paying for through taxes.
It's only free you get different percentiles of funding depending on your financial status.
But now that the means test.
It used to be free.
It's not absolutely free. It used to be free.
It used to be free.
But it name gated at close sometime.
Yeah, and I am but I'm of the opinion that when you are striving to take a country forward in a particular way, you have to do things like that.
And you know what was happening when it was absolutely free? A lot of students are wasting it, changing that.
Some all, not the majority. It was utilized because it jumped our tertiary education percentage.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Level. So there were some people who wasted it, but the vast majority took advantage of it.
Brother, it's not free anymore. It's not absolutely as open. It's not as open anymore. But it was open for a long time.
So when I was in university, I had to pay. I had to pay some stuff.
I got some free. I had to pay for some stuff.
Yeah, I had to pay for some stuff. But we do get a certain amount of services done. Of course, I know a lot of people would have complaints about. Well, WASA is a big complaint in terms of the infrastructure of the country. Still is, even though hopefully it's getting better, but it still is. Roads will always be a complaint, even though you do see actively more paving of roads taking place right now. But it's still a complaint. You still have complaints coming out of the health sector, but you also have positive stories coming out of the health sector too. So that's a mixed bag. I wouldn't say it's all bad.
Until you walk into the emergency on the road. Yes, there are positives, but by and large, I've done these health town hall meetings for 2 now, and the horror stories you hear. Okay, there are positive stories in anything, but the healthcare sector has a long way to go to be efficient and decent.
Yeah, so that would be one that people will look at. The issue of there was some other one that I was thinking of, not just healthcare.
I think by and large, education is not bad. They have a lot of work to do, but across the board, they have some work to do at the primary school level, significant work to the primary school level that will take care of the issues at the secondary school level. You know, tertiary, I think is going okay.
I think the curriculum needs to be revisited. I think curriculums cannot stay static for so many years. It has to be constantly revamped.
Why are you saying the curriculum is static?
Because the simple things of issues of coding and our thrust into that.
And I know that you have a passion for coding, but coding is not the only thing. The curriculum is changing. It has evolved. So coding is not the only thing that will make it dynamic.
No, I'm just talking about the digital sector.
They have ITs in schools. They have different things. So you're saying
no, well, they have IT
one thing
now.
And saying the curriculum is static, and that's not true.
Okay, Paul, I'm corrected.
What?
So we are moving full speed ahead in the digital.
And you're going to the extreme now and saying we're moving full speed ahead to make your point because you lost your point. I never said we moved full speed ahead. I said point was that the curriculum is not dynamic, and that is not true.
I accepted your point.
And then you got sarcastic and said the curriculum moving full speed ahead.
Well, yes.
Trouble. Yeah, right. So, and you say I'm sarcastic, and I am, but admit your own sarcasm.
Of course you are sarcastic.
Yeah, and I said, no, I have no problem with that. Yes, I am. And you aren't. You're not sarcastic at all. I ain't seen the guests.
Very few times. But that whole issue of how the vocational side of it is dealt with, the what they would have called it when we were younger. Tech voc. So anyway, but I mean, there are some positives in terms of how taxpayers' monies are spent.
Plenty positives.
But see, I work in the education sector, so I know. And I'm the first one who always say there's a lot of work to be done. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Paul, you hear how you're criticizing DS slips? You think everybody is you. You have to take a little though sometimes you're not always right, you know.
Absolutely. I have on several occasions on this show said I was wrong. I stand corrected.
You like to force down your point on people.
But you like me to force down my point. You like me to force down my point.
You like to force everything. Listen to me. What? I didn't hear that. Did I miss something there?
Well, Mrs. R going against your husband on my behalf this morning, well, is a landmark day in the Republic.
Let me tell you all something. You see, this country, people not trying to give this property tax, a chance to work. We have to let us be optimistic sometimes. Let us pay the taxes without the set of grumbling. Well, it would have who would want to object. They're giving people a time to object. But what I am saying is that the opposition, the people of this country, very wrong by stopping people paying property taxes. You understand? And without paying your taxes, how you knowing that you still own the property? So many people in this country so bloody thief that by the time you think you look around, you turn around to hand out your property, you hear somebody else own it. I want to pay my taxes because I want services. The garbage truck passes in front by me here every other day. Twice a week, open truck pass in to take whatever rubbish people have around the place, the old things that they don't want and all that. You know, and the government is trying. with what little they have, and people on the 7,500 not paying taxes. What the hell are they talking about? You might pay a little bit, and the only taxes I really disagree with is like paying tax on talk and phone bill and certain things like that, flow and them kind of little things you have to get to keep your comfort in your house. But other than that, we need services and we got to pay. And people not giving this tax thing a chance to pay for it to work, man. It's everything.
I don't agree that every concern raised is grumbling. I don't agree with that at all. There's some very valid concerns that have been raised about the assessments with this residential.
Well, that is why you have the time to send in your objection. I'm not saying no to that, Paul. But what I'm saying, many people, different departments are being funded, but most times it's the attitude of the people. When you talk about health, I've been to the hospital already, and a doctor attended to me, and when the doctor turned to the nurse and asked, "Do you all have so and so and so here?" She said, "Look in the cupboard," and she sat down by her desk. Sometimes some of them need to be tossed out of the damn cupboard that they have. But everybody, it have too many unions, and unions have their good, but their bad does outweigh their good. So people sometimes down in a job, they ain't doing one thing, but they getting money. So you think that money not being poured into different areas? Man, look, people here getting it too easy. You understand? And people overseas shouldn't vote here, on those kind of things.
Why?
They're not living here. They're not living here to actually feel the day-to-day effects of what money is being paid for. So they shouldn't be glad to say no. Glad to say no in America. If you work for 10 cents, you're paying tax on that. Here, 7,500, you're not paying taxes.
I think it's up to 7,000, not 7,500.
Right. But, okay, thanks for the correction. But what about in New York? Everything you pay tax on. If you work, no matter if you work for $10 a week, you have to pay tax on it, unless you're working under the books or under the counter or what else they call it. But I mean, come on, man. People overdoing it. Look how many taxes people having a good living, doing their own thing, and then I put in a cent in the government coffers. But they won't go to roads, They want their drains cleaned, and they were self-employed. Well, don't talk about them, So people need to give this thing time to work, and we can't always be critical. We must want to help the country that we live in.
I mean, I will agree with you, Zina, that we have to see what is done with the property tax and how that's going to work. How it's going to work with the revamped local government system. Well, attempt to revamp. I know Wendell will say that. Wendell will see nothing happening.
Well, nothing is happening because the taxes aren't being collected yet, and people are arguing to pay a little bit.
There have been some taxes collected.
Land and property don't want to pay taxes because.
Why are you saying that?
Look, let me have a break here.
Go back under the blankets. Go. Pull it up. Go.
No. And on there, you can't come out from on it,
I can hear that.
It's up to my
We
neck.
can tell.
I can tell. I can tell.
And
you want anybody's here this side of the bed?
When you see I take you on yesterday, you think you get away. I was between sleep and wake. You come out for PNM people. You, Mr. Paul.
Well, if you look at the chat, you'll see I get it from both sides. It's nothing new with me.
Oh, mash your bricks, right.
Go back under the blanket, darling. Pull it over your head now.
Have a good day. No. I listen to all you. Come back if it's after.
I know. I send the link on email and I send the link on WhatsApp. I ain't seen Monsignor Alexander.
Later.
Good morning, caller.
Every time Gary come into the earth.
Morning,
Good
Paul.
morning.
Yeah, morning.
Morning.
Morning, Mr. Patrick.
I want to make it clear and crystal. I don't support no party in Trinidad and Tobago. Right? So, PNM, UNC, when I talk. So when people hear me talk, I ain't supporting PNM either UNC. I supporting country and what is right and what is wrong and justice. Right? What I was saying a while back, how many people in Trinidad and Tobago pay tax? Because the government bring a thing, anybody working for under $72,000 do not pay tax in Trinidad and Tobago. Nice? The government have a gate program. Nice? The government have subsidized properties, houses, and a lot of things the government already subsidized, boat fare to go to Tobago, bus for senior citizens, for school children. A lot of things the government already remove tax and subsidize and give people. Nice? I watching a property tax receipt I have here from 2009. Wendell, you know what Richard, you know what it was? $109. And the government say, ask the tax for $109. A bottle of punch is nearly $2. So I don't know. I try to reason out the thing. Because I have friends from the States, Canada. You say something just how Paul said. I have a friend from Scandinavia country. She said she leave Trinidad and went to live with her husband working in the UN. And when she realized, she said, you can't go to the hospital and just go. And when you do call the hospital and you have to go, you have to pay your own transport to go to the hospital. But she said the taxation very high. She said we have free healthcare in Trinidad and Tobago. So she eyes open when she started travel. Right? A lot of people who are against the property tax, they are not property neither. I talking to people who are against the property tax. They don't have a part and a stake. So I don't know if I live in a kind of mad country, but I really don't know. I don't know if everything has to be political. I got that.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick. This is so unlike Philip Alexander.
Rena Buru Jennings, your guess is as good as ours. So we'll take some calls by the time at 222-8255. North Americans, toll free, 866-525-1099. Send me a WhatsApp at 318-1021. Thank you, Dan Raj. Wade B says, Mr. Patrick, you preach. All right, let's grab this call. Good morning.
Gentlemen, good morning.
Morning, Captain Ron. How are you?
I'm okay. Listen, you guys enjoyed the morning show. Listen, the last gentleman there, I really agree with that gentleman there. He made so much points that is so true. And my answer was yes this morning, simply because I live outside the country and I see what we have to pay for, where we get in Trinidad for free. I grew up in a country where I got free education. And with your choice I'm just touching education alone. You have many other things that are free, but education, I mean, my father and my mother passed early in my life, and my brothers and I grew up with our grandparents. And they used to play, you remember that called by Sahara, education or something like that? And
it's called education.
Correct. And we would listen to their play over and over every week for us until it kind of sunk into my head, into my head. And then we realized education was cool, but we were getting it for free until I came here to America. And then I realized what was happening in Trinidad. And Mr. Paul, you made a very good point this morning. We tend to look at other countries and look how great they are, but then look at the taxes they have to pay. We go in other people's country and we pay more taxes without a problem. But when it comes to our own country, we tend to find we want to fight the government. And I agree with what the other gentleman just last caller said. We have to look and see what we have. I wish I can pack everybody on a plane from Trinidad and Tobago and bring them overseas and let them spend a few years and then figure out, oh my goodness, look what we had in Trinidad, you know. So of course, I would say we are getting our value for money with taxes. We are, because we have a lot of free education. That is a big thing. America, come and see how much money you have to pay for education. Right now, for my flight training, I went to flight school in 1980. I left Trinidad in 1980, and in 1982 I went to the academy. And it cost me just $25,000. I'm trying to get my son in right now. It's $120,000 I have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
My son to go through at Emerald. You know? So that's how it goes. So,
but Captain Ron, while I agree with you to some level, you know, but when you look at we're comparing where you are in the US and what happens in Trinidad and Tobago. We're a very small country. You telling me we can't get healthcare right? Even though the healthcare is primarily free? You telling me we can't get public transportation right? Or there's a small percentage of the population using public transport?
Yes, you have a valid point. Yes, you can.
And not because it's free, we should accept poor quality.
Agreed. Okay, I understand what you're saying. In some areas, we need to pull our socks up, especially for me, WASA system. Since I grew up,
WASA, that great point.
That I still don't understand that at all.
How much decades government come, government go, and government change, government in, government out. WASA for this, water for all. Where the water for all? They'll be both, and you have 4 days of supply a week. We're supposed to be happy with that?
Correct. So then the problem is, it's not hard to see. It seems like people are into politics, and they're kind of fighting other people. If something is wrong with that, it's politics playing there. Somebody is people or branch or something, I don't know. But maybe they need to privatize it. Privatize the water. I
have no problem with that, because when Severn Trent was here, we had a much better grasp on WASA.
Correct. Even the airline, Caribbean Airlines, which used to be BWI. You're trying to tell me as soon as the government have put somebody to run it one time after BWI was turned over to Caribbean Airlines, and there's no direct flight to Europe, and they have British Airways and Virgin Atlantic coming from all the way from Europe and making money.
And KLM.
But we in the Caribbean can't make money going there. Come on, man, people. The government people who are hearing me, y'all are a joke. Y'all need to do something better with the airline. They should get a couple 787s or 777s. They can do it. And start service from Trinidad, Tobago, Barbados, Antigua, St. Kitts, and Jamaica, and all of them. You have planes based there. That's like how American Airlines, and they're doing it. They have bases all over.
Mm-hmm.
Employ, if you call your name, you call yourself the Caribbean Airlines. Employ people from every island.
Not to mention the price of tickets.
And then do something about that, right? They need to do British Airways. I don't know if you all know this. British Airways started flight direct from Guyana, St. Lucia.
I don't know what it is with interregional travel. A friend of mine was going to Jamaica recently, and the price of Cal to Jamaica was more than when they went to Miami, Jamaica from Miami.
Mr. Paul, let me show you a point. From the U.S. to Trinidad, let's say from where I'm at, Orlando to Trinidad, is 3 hours and 20 minutes. The price of a ticket is over, I think it's about 2,000 or something like that. Or somebody told me 2,000 or 3,000. I spent $1,200 for a ticket from Ethiopian Airlines to fly from anywhere in the U.S. to Addis Ababa for 13 hours and 45 minutes. And $1,200 round trip. Just check that. Something is not right. I know Trinidad is a destination, but that doesn't mean you have to raise the price so much. If I'm coming to Trinidad, I take American Airlines because I get a cheaper price. Why is that Caribbean Airlines have to be so expensive? So,
That's
I mean,
nice.
whoever's run it, they need to do a better job taking command of the Caribbean, all, not just Trinidad and Tobago, you call yourself Caribbean Airlines. So be the Caribbean. Become the Caribbean. And somebody is joking on there. And Ms. Paul, I agree with you. We need to pull our stocks up in many different areas. Wassa is one, and many other places, areas that you could tell me about. I don't know about. Y'all have a great day.
And there's always Rena Jennings makes a point that she says healthcare is not great in the US. It's not perfect. Or healthcare in the great US is not perfect. A woman died in the floor of a US hospital waiting for attention. What does it have to do with us here? One thing better.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning. I was listening to a program yesterday with Mariano Brown, and he mentioned that the Prime Minister said some time ago that he's not going to bring back property tax. Did he send the video to you on it? You all get the video on it?
No.
The video on what?
No, you remember he said yesterday that the Prime Minister said some time ago that they were not bringing back the property tax. Remember he mentioned that? And when I asked him, and he asked him,
Mariano Brown said that.
How about Mariano Brown from yesterday?
Yeah. And I had the video on it. Did he send you the video on it?
No.
No, he didn't.
I had that video where they say they're not going to bring back the property tax. It's correct. When they get a chance, ask them to send you a video on it. I could look for it.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning.
I think the main situation as it relates to the property tax comes with evaluations, and I'll give you 3 examples. A modest 3-bedroom house in Barataria that Mr. Khan probably is familiar with the area. Well kept. The estimated or the valuation that they gave was the rental valuation is approximately $7,000 a month. Highland Park, upscale Highland Park, a house that is 50 years old, well kept, has a rental value of $22,000 a month. High-end Summit up the hill of Mocha or in Mocha, $6,000 as the rental value. You know, unless it is somebody could explain to me how it is they come up with these values, it seems out of whack. The average rental for a house in Barataria is somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000, maybe reaching as far as $5,000. And even then, you're not going to get people wanting to pay that kind of money. The average person living in Barataria or want to rent a property in Barataria cannot afford a house for $5,000. So it's difficult to understand how a valuation could come up with $7,000 as the monthly rental. Maybe some of you gentlemen can give an idea of your own personal valuations and say what you think that they're unreasonable. And I think that is the main thing that people not understanding. And it's only recently I got to understand in the calculation they're taking a 10% off. So even if you take 10% off for $7,000, that leaves you with $6,300. Yet you're not finding somebody that will pay a rent of $6,300 for a 3-bedroom house in Barataria. And that is what it is people not understanding, how it is they came up with these valuations.
But I think that's one of the points that many people keep raising. There seem to be, from the reports I'm seeing in the media, and even on a couple of the conversations with the Prime Minister where people went up to the microphone, people have queries about the methodology being used, which I think was part of Mariana Brown's point yesterday, and their inconsistencies in the same area in some instances, and the comparisons between different areas. Some are considered upscale and some considered middle of the road. And I think that is where people want more clarity on the issue, and also the issue of if the different evaluators whom the ministry has hired, if there's a vetting, a secondary and a tertiary vetting process when they bring in the evaluations, so that there is some level of transparency and consistency throughout the evaluations that they make across the country and within the country.
And let's be realistic here. Let's suppose the valuation says it's $5,000 and some property owner decides he wants to rent his property for $5,000. In these times, it's very difficult to get that kind of money for your property. So you're paying on $5,000 a month, which is equivalent to $60,000 for the year. But you're probably only going to get $48,000 in terms of rent. And what are the implications of the annual taxable value? If I remember correctly, on your WASA bill, you see the ATV written on the page. Is that going to impact on your water rate automatically without the rates being increased? Are you going to be simply paying more now that your ATV has been valued at that your increased valuation is your water rate, the constant rate of your water going to automatically go up because your ATV has changed? That is something that we need to look at.
What I want clarity on is how they're doing the valuation, if they don't enter your house.
Well, when you fill out the form, you see you state what type of floor you have, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms.
Obviously, they have a formula of some sort.
Yeah, and if you like,
they're using that formula, whether you have concrete floor, you have wooden floor, the wall. I could understand that, and maybe not many people know, but they're also using drones to survey the place. So that
drones can see through the roof as to how much rooms in the house. So the X-ray in the house then.
Remember the form that you're filling out, Paul. It's supposed to say how much rooms you have.
I know, I know that, but my issue is that
you lie.
That's if you're putting inaccuracies on the form. How do they verify what you're putting on the form is accurate?
Well, unless you have a bedroom that is 20 by 20. When you have your square footage of the house,
you will know generally what it can accommodate.
Yes, you could go into all of the details and stuff about
approximate.
But I think, the main issue I think is the valuations appear to be out of whack. That is the main issue. I think by and large, people were paying land and building taxes all the time under that name. The percentage, San Fernando, I believe, had the highest percentage in terms of what it was in the old system. And now it's supposed to be 2% across the board. But the valuations and how they come up with these calculations is what is the main issue.
Yeah, I think that has been the major issue, and the consistencies and inconsistencies that people have raised that have not been adequately addressed. I think those are one of the main issues I'm hearing. People who want to pay the tax, but they're getting these valuations that are inconsistent with the house next door, the house opposite, with general value in the area, and they're asking themselves how and why.
And quickly as I go, as it relates to the health system, we know it's far from perfect, and in some minuscule instances, it's downright horrible. But I think in the majority of cases, you get a decent healthcare in terms of what the doctors and some of the medical professionals offer. When you compared, somebody told me they stayed at West Shore Medical Center for 3 days, and they had to pay $68,000 for 3 days. $68,000. I have a friend living in Canada. He says that the waiting time in the emergency area in some of the hospitals in Ontario is 4 to 6 hours. In the
I would welcome 4 to 6 hours.
But sometimes you get through faster here.
No, yes, anyway you get through faster sometimes, but I would welcome 4 to 6 hours.
No, that can't be fair. If you have an emergency case,
sir,
and because the triage, yes, sir. Mr.
I checked my mother last year who had breathing issues.
Well, your mother worked in the healthcare service for most of her life.
And I stayed from 1:45 in the afternoon to she was finally warded at 10 p.m. under observation, and I left at 1:45.
Well, I can tell you.
When the doctors finally came in at midnight. Okay?
and you could afford to carry your mother to a private institution and you choose to use the public healthcare
Yeah,
system.
because it's closer for me to traverse from there. But that's not the point.
Well,
Whether I could afford to or not, it shouldn't be whether I could afford to or not. It is a public healthcare institution, and
And you are a citizen.
and I'm a citizen of the country, and it
And
has
you're
nothing to do with
entitled
whether I could afford to take a private healthcare on it. I should not be in the hospital 10 hours with my 93-year-old mother waiting to be admitted or discharged.
Now, I can tell you as I close now, a relative of mine had a serious condition on a Sunday night. Went to the hospital, was evaluated, and stayed. They kept there overnight for observation. Tuesday, and by Wednesday morning they were on the operating table with an emergency situation. If you didn't have $100,000, you couldn't go to a private institution and get that done.
And most people cannot afford private health care.
Yeah, so what we have to do, and I must commend here the Diego Martin Health Center. I think it's a breath of fresh air. The staff are dedicated. They're doing the best that they can in that facility, and it's really the quality.
You raise a good point there. I think one of the main issues is that the Ministry of Health needs to do better in communicating the type of issues people need to go to the healthcare centers as opposed to walking into accident and emergency. Because a lot of the issues with the hospitals that people are clogging up the hospital emergency rooms when the issues may be dealt with effectively and more expeditiously in the healthcare centers.
I can tell you that they're clogging up the health centers as well. Nobody wants to go to a doctor to pay $300 and $400 for a visit, and they're using the advantage of going to the healthcare system, which they perceive or have it down that it's free and they don't have to take money out of your pocket. You're getting free medication when the dispensaries have it.
Some people just can't afford it. There's no choice.
Yeah, people can't afford it, but you wouldn't believe the people that are using the facility. I think I took up enough of your gentlemen's time.
Thank you for your contribution.
But it's a work in progress, and we have to be grateful for small mercies.
62 years? Really?
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
That's a work in progress thing. Is yes, everything is a work in progress. Humans are a work in progress. So what? We wait the next 62 years?
I mean, I think a lot of people will have their own versions of horror stories in the health.
Good morning. Good
Even
morning.
though there are some that were good, but until as a country, if we're talking about issue of taxpayers' money and how it's being spent, you have to have transparency in everything that we do as a country to better move forward in terms of making things better. And how the country has dealt with COVID, or how the health sector dealt with COVID, is something that needs to be addressed. It needs to be the subject of some sort of scrutiny to see whether we were efficient, where the gaps were, what we need to improve on.
So we could learn.
That's just an example.
Yeah, let's grab this call. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
I note with concern the comparisons to other countries that we made. Why aren't we comparing ourselves to Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Dubai and other countries that are oil producers like ourselves, and the population seems to enjoy so much more benefit? You see, as a taxpayer, we are not receiving the type of services that we deserve in this country. And people talking about the free education, and when I look on my phone every morning, I see school sites. People talk about the healthcare system, and when I look, I see people keeping barbecues for surgeries and trying to raise money to have other surgical things done on them. And with respect to the crime, well, I don't want to go on about that because we all know where that is. And another thing I note with concern is that during the rainy seasons, when 3/4 of the country is inundated with floodwaters and can't come out of the house, the government doesn't mention property tax. There's no discussion on property tax during the rainy seasons when homes are flooded out. So unless and until we don't start to hold our governments to account. And a while ago, the pandemic was being mentioned. And what about the $22 billion that was allegedly spent to uphold the country and uplift the country during the pandemic, which today can be accounted for? I haven't met a single, and let me tell you, I'm a rum shop liner, and I have not met a single person who can tell me that they received any benefit derived from that $22 billion that was supposed to be sent out to people who needed it. I haven't met anybody, and I don't know if any one of you sitting there could tell me that you met someone who would have gotten a check during the pandemic to help them out.
Yes, I have. I have met
I
people. I know people who have gotten. I know a lot of people who have gotten.
I stand corrected there because I personally have never met anyone. I've asked people and I've never met. But at the end of the day, we need to account. We need to hold our leaders to account. I mean, less than what 10% of the people get a proper supply of water. Our roads are deplorable. During the rainy season, as I mentioned, the rivers are never upkept, so flood helter skelter. I remember coming back.
Well, you're making a lot of statements that I don't know that you can substantiate. You're saying that less than 10% of people get a proper supply of water. Where does that data come from?
Well,
you're saying rivers are not upkept in the dry season, so that is also not true.
No, it's not upkept during the rainy season. Our flooding issues are horrendous.
But how on what basis are you making that statement?
Well, from my own personal experience living in the country.
And your personal experience encompasses the entire country?
In terms of the flooding in the country. It's just a couple of areas in the country not flooded. If rain drizzles in Port of Spain now, we have water all on Richmond Street, right around the Ministry of Works building. You can't even pass.
And that's right. But how does that equate to rivers are not upkept across the country or maintained across the country? How does that equate to that?
Well, we asked the water courses to accept the excess waters that would fall from the skies, which they seem incapable of doing because of the lack of maintenance to them. And what I'm saying is
all over the country?
Well, most of the country.
You're saying most of the country floods?
I came back on a flight from St. Lucia at one time, and that was during the rainy season, and the plane couldn't land, and we had to circle and circle and circle until
they stop flights in Miami International for rain too sometimes because the tarmac is flooded. You know that, right?
But we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to other.
Oh, okay, right. But it's you make the comparison.
To oil producing nations that seems to favor them.
Let's say we should compare ourselves more to oil producing nations than those other countries. I get your point, and I get Paul's point too, that there is flooding that happens in certain areas almost regularly every single year.
For many different reasons.
What are we doing in terms of solving those problems? And I think the Ministry of Works, because sometimes I go on their site to see what they're doing, and they do have certain updates in terms of desilting and trying to make some headway into some of those.
Precise. That's why I challenged the comment.
But yeah, are we doing enough? I don't know. It's an arguable point. It's not clear. I think.
Yeah.
Richard, for some reason, your audio went out.
We lost your audio, Rich.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that we seem to accept.
What I'm saying is that age, because of social media, you have more pressure being applied to governments generally,
which is fine,
and so therefore there is more public pressure to get things done, like those desilting and stuff like that. And I don't think the Ministry of Works and Transport is adverse to that, and that there's a responsibility in terms of that whole flooding issue in the rainy season. But
all right, cool. Apart from that,
some is happening. Some stuff is happening. Nothing is happening.
How many discussions do we have regarding property tax during the rainy season when the flooding takes place. We really don't have many, because it seems to get quiet during those periods.
So what does the property tax have to do with the rainy season?
We take for granted what the politician tells us, and they themselves put on their social media site, and what mainstream media really tries to feed us. Because, face it, the population has lost faith in the credibility of mainstream media, and that is why the reliance is so heavy on social media. Because social media seems to tell you and cut to the chase, they give you the videos, they give you the information.
But social media also has a lot of misinformation too.
We understand that.
I don't know that we do,
But you're making the point, and if you go to any research site, go to Pew's research, and you will see that more than 75% of the information on social media is either skewed or false, abjectly false.
Well, the wise man has the power to reason. Always remember, the wise man has the power to reason. And what I am saying is that if you don't listen to mainstream media, you're not informed. And if you listen to mainstream media, you're misinformed. So it's entirely up to you to decide what information you're going to actually accept. The recent debacle in Port of Spain, that came across on social media. I don't think mainstream media covered it as much as social media did.
What debacle are you talking about?
And the recent debacle in Half Place in Port of Spain.
The shooting.
Where 9 people got shot.
Well, major media did cover it. Social media covers things more instantaneously.
Social media would have covered it.
Yeah, more instantaneously, but mainstream media. I'm not saying that mainstream media can't engage in misinformation, but mainstream media can be held accountable for that misinformation, and especially if it's defamatory and stuff like that.
You can't compare the two.
So whereas social media is very unregulated.
Anybody get a video or put something up will spread like wildfire because of the nature of social media.
Yeah.
Well, the whole idea behind it is that, as I said, it's for you to decide. You, the viewer, you looking at it and you decide. I mean, I am not one to easily believe, for instance, any politician and what they say.
But is you bringing up the points as valid arguments, sir?
Well, what I'm saying is that, for instance, a government is elected into office based on a written manifesto. And if within that written manifesto, there's nothing about we're going to implement property tax or we're going to implement this tax and that tax and the other tax, then it seems rather strange and bewildering that once you assume office, you start to neglect the things that you actually promised to do.
So only what is in the manifesto should be championed by the particular administration.
I feel it should be the main focus, because you vote based on what the politician.
And if opportunities arise or environmental circumstances change that either give you opportunities or force you to change direction arise, they should be sticking to the manifesto, no matter what.
No. There are certain things that cannot be done because a government that is not in office or a party that's not in office don't know the true nature of the economy. They don't know the treasury. They don't know what they can and cannot do, but they make promises. For instance, and then they come into office and they totally neglect what they promised while on the campaign trail and what they would have written in their manifestos.
I agree with that at some level. But you're equating two different things. You said only things in the manifesto but you seem to say only things in the manifesto should be championed.
I'm saying that the focus should be on those promises that were written.
I agree with that, but there will be circumstances that change during the course of any administration that either force them to take advantage of an opportunity that comes up or change direction based on environmental circumstances that challenge.
I agree with you. But why is the focus always on the exception and not the rule?
I don't know that is true.
About in exceptional circumstances, we deviate from the manifesto. Fine, I understand that. But those are that should be exceptional circumstances where we are saying, okay, we can't do this promise because we don't have the money to do it. Fine, and the population is brought into the loop and shown where we need to do something else in order to get those finances to be able to do that. And good, because the
All right.
direction should really change.
Caller, thank you for your contribution. It's 8 o'clock. We have to go. Appreciate your contribution.
Yeah, because we can continue to make your points tomorrow or whatever.
Yeah. You'll have a great day. Be safe.
Yeah, it's always
10% of you getting water, drink water and mind your business.
God, sarcasm and snarkiness.
Yeah, boy.
You should call him SS. Sarcasm and snarkiness.
Once is not SSE. Once is not SSE.
We just call him double S. Have a fantastic day, whatever you're doing. Just reminding you that theater is on April 13th and 14th at Queen's Hall. Tickets should be out by next week, so I'll let you know. Of course, it's Love is a Walk, and I encourage you to go to RSR Productions Theater page to see our latest press releases on the issue, as well as, well, media releases, I should say, rather than press. And you should also see the comments of people who have come to the play. I tell you, the comments are startling. They are so gushing with praise for that show. I tell you, this show is special in terms of what it's doing, in terms of laughter. So don't hurry me up like Paul. Have a great one.
We have to go. It's 8:02. So.
Have a great one, people. Remember to smile and laugh. It's good for your health.
All right. Thank you, Rich. Of course, we'll chat with you tomorrow morning. Let's get into our news brief, ABS.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is time for a news update on Power 102 Digital.